All right, this is 8th grade for lesson 19, module 7 on cones and spheres. So we're going to start with this problem here where we have a cylinder. And it says, write an expression that shows the volume in terms of the area of the base, B, and I actually call it big B in my class, and the height of the figure. Explain the meaning of the expression and then use it to determine the volume of this figure. All right. So first thing I want to point out is big B. What is big B? Big B is representing the area of the base. So you have to actually find the area of the base first, and that number is your big B. So your equation then would be volume equals big B times your height. And that's how you eventually get your length times width times height. But when you're dealing with cylinders, you have to find the area of the base first. So let's do that. That's going to look like this. Volume equals, now the area would be pi r squared. That right there is my big B. So you could also say that your formula is volume equals pi r squared h. These are the exact same thing. All right, so now I'm going to put my h there. Pi, now my r is 6. So I'm going to say 6 squared times my height, which is 10. That's going to give me pi times 36 times 10, which gives me 360 pi inches cubed. And that is my final answer. All right, let's look at B. Now for B, we have a cone. Cone's formula is going to be volume equals 1/3 big B times h. So if you think of that cylinder up above, if I take 1/3 of it off, I have a cone. So that's how we get this formula. So same thing as before, we could say that this is 1/3 pi r squared h as well. So I'm going to say 1/3 pi times 6 squared times 10, which should look really familiar right now. 1/3 pi times 360, just skipping a step there. Now I know that 3 can go into 360 120 times, so it's 120 pi inches cubed. Now if you look at your last answer was 360. If you took 360 divided it by 3, you'd get 120. So basically, you should see now that a cone is 1/3 the volume of a cylinder. All right, let's look at number 2. Number 2 here says, write an expression that shows the volume in terms of the big B for this figure. I'm going to let you go ahead and do that. That's going to be one that I grade. Now, since this one does not have a circle involved, I'll just kind of help you out. It's just your standard length times width times height. All right, so go ahead and finish that one. If you need to pause the video, you may. So B says the volume of a square pyramid shown below is 480 inches squared. So they already told me what my volume is. What might be a reasonable guess for the formula of a volume of a pyramid? What makes sense? Well, if you did your problem up above correctly, you would take the square, if we squared this off, okay, all the way, because it already has a square pyramid. So imagine this being inside of a cube. So we can use the cube up above there because it has the 12 by 12. So this is basically that prism that you just solved for, cut down to a triangle base or triangular sides. So we're going to say 1,440. We're going to divide that by 3 because this is 1/3 of the size. And that gives me 480, which is exactly what they said my volume was. So what can we say would be a formula? We would say 1/3 the big B times the H, the base times the height. All right, let's look at the next one. Example 1, state as many facts as you can about this cone. All right, so a couple things we know. Well, what's this called? That's called the height. This is called a side. Going halfway across is called a radius. Going all the way across is called the diameter. So that's the parts I can label. What do I also know about a cone? How about its area formula? An area of a cone is going to be pi r squared. The volume of the cone we just solved a few minutes ago was 1/3 pi r squared h, or you can say big B h and 1/3 of that. And the circumference. We have 2 pi r, or we can say circumference is also pi times diameter. So that's about everything I can list here to help solve this cone problem. So let's look at number 3. Now, if you see, we have a right triangle here in number 3, so we can use Pythagorean Theorem to solve for the hypotenuse here. So we're going to say 4 squared plus 3 squared equals c squared. 16 plus 9 equals c squared. That's going to give me 25 equals c squared. I'm going to square root both of those, where c equals 5. And I'm done. All right, I'm going to have you do number 4. So if you need to pause the video, number 4 will be one that I grade. Number 5. What is the lateral length, also known as the slant height, of a pyramid shown here? Give it an exact square root answer and an approximate answer rounded to the 10th place. All right, so I see that I still have a right triangle, so I can still use Pythagorean Theorem. So I'm going to say 4 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. I'm going to get 16 plus 64 equals c squared. That gives me 80 equals c squared. I'm going to square root both of these. And when I square root 80, it comes out to 8.9 and some long rest of the decimal answer there. So I'm going to say it's about 8.9 inches squared. So this is my exact. My exact is root 80. My estimate, rounded to the 10th place, is 8.9. So actually, both of these are answers to box. All right, I'm going to have you do number 6. So if you need to pause the video, go ahead. Okay, number 7. What is the length of the chord of the sphere below? Give the exact square root. All right. So if this is 11, this is also 11, making it an equal or isosceles triangle, I should say. So we're going to use Pythagorean Theorem again. So I'm going to say 11 squared plus 11 squared equals c squared. That's 121 plus 121 equals c squared. So this comes out to 242 equals c squared. Square root both of these. My exact answer would be root 242. This is my exact answer. But now we're going to go ahead and round this up. I know 242 is 121 times 2. So I'm going to take the root of 121 times 2. I know that I can cross out the 121 and bring an 11 on the outside there. So my C is going to equal 11 root 2 centimeters. There you go. All right, let's try the next one. All right, so the next one here, we have 8 and 9. I'm going to let you do 8 on your own. If you need to pause the video, I'm going to do 9, and then you guys are going to do 10 on your own. So number 9 here, it says, what is the volume of the sphere? So we need to find the triangular sides first, right here, and then we can find its volume. So I'm going to call these a squared. You may also call them r squared because some people call it the radius since we're solving for radius. But I'm sticking with the Pythagorean theorem of a. They are both the same measure. So we're going to say a squared and a squared, not a squared b squared, because that would be two different measures. So we're going to say a squared plus a squared equals 20 squared. That gives me 2a squareds equals 400. I'm going to divide that by 2. And I get a squared equals 200. I'm going to take the square root of that. Now I know 200 can be broken into 100 times 2, and 100 is a perfect square. So we're going to say 100 times 2. And I'm going to cancel out the 100, making it a 10. So a equals 10 root 2. Now let's go ahead and find the volume. The volume of this is going to be 4/3 pi r cubed. So we're going to say 4/3 pi. Now my r is right there, what we just found. Like I said, some people will call it r, but I basically found the radius. So we're going to say 10 root 2 cubed, which I'm not going to put that into the calculator like that because that would give you a very strange answer if you're not doing it correctly. What you want to do is cube both of these numbers. And that'll look like this. We'll have 4/3 pi. 10 cubed gives me 1,000. Root 2 cubed gives me 8. Now, 8 can be broken down into 4 times 2, leaving you 4 with a perfect square. So this becomes 2 root 2. So what you want to do now is take this 2 and multiply it to that 1,000. So let's bring everything down. I have 4/3 pi times 2,000 root 2. Now I'm going to do 4 times 2,000, and I get 8,000 root 2 over 3 centimeters cubed. And that is your final answer. All right, you guys will do number 10, and that will end this video tutorial.